Really anticipated.
Yeah.
We're always looking at it and we're always saying, is it on yet? Is it on yet? But the thing's going like this. Does that mean that it's on? And then we always watch the replays.
Yeah. We're digging around. Yep, it's live. Okay.
And we are on again.
We're 15 seconds in.
Back
So
at
let's
it.
see. There's a. Here we go. I think that's the screen we're looking for. Yeah.
Beautiful.
All right.
Good morning to you, April. Good to have you.
Morning, April.
Just want to express gratitude for you in how much you're really diving into this work. So it's good to have you as part of this tribe.
Most definitely. It's good to have people, like-minded people that match the vibe, that are all in and willing to take themselves on and really grow. So thank you, April.
Yeah, doing this work, it's not comfortable at times.
I don't think ever.
Getting to be with myself and all of my weird things that are going on in my internal world, and then bringing them to light to face them.
Yeah, it's definitely the, as Aubrey Marcus says, the warrior's ethos. Being willing to go into those dark recesses and do that shadow work. The unconscious mind that's really running the show, and go in there and take inventory of what's what and bring it to light. Speak about it.
I think that's what's going on with the collective. I mean, if we think about how many of the fears that we've had in the deepest, darkest corners of our own psyche, and now they're being brought to light, like the fear of not having enough, and how do I provide for the kids, and business is slowing down if that's the case for some. Like, we're having to face that in this.
But I think that the fundamental shift, the gift that's available to people, is to see that when these things come up and we're able to take a look at it and face those fears, like, it's not happening to suppress us. It's not happening so that it's here to hurt us. Mm-hmm. It's here for us to finally take a look at it so that we can grow through it. Mm-hmm. Yet the collective more looks at these things like it's something that's bad or wrong, or it's very victim consciousness, that lens.
Yeah.
When really it's a gift. I mean, that's how we look at it anyways.
Yeah, I suppose I didn't look at it that way right up front, because here's this new thing that completely rocked the routine life. Yeah. The things that I had been used to and now are no longer there. And then it was that little shakeup. It was like, whoa, what is this new territory? And, experiencing, a broad range of emotions in that time and space as I kind of figured out and gained my footing. But I've seen so many beautiful things come through this.
And if you look at it this way, like, until things like this happen that create a situation for us to self-reflect, like, when else would you be given the opportunity to dig deep, have these realizations, and make some fundamental shifts? Because most people don't say, hey, I'm going to go grow myself today, and so let me discover something new about myself. Like, it just doesn't happen that way. I suppose you could pay for a seminar and intentionally go in there and say, I'm going to work on this thing. But how many people of the collective actually do that? I mean, we were certainly committed to it, and that's how we met. So it's like you say, a fish doesn't know it's in water until you pull it out. Well, this whole quarantine situation is really somebody pulling you out of the water, so you get to take a look at things. So instead of screaming about being pulled out of the water, why don't you say thank you for the awareness and awakening? Because now change can happen. If we're not aware of how we're operating, then really we have no choice to change, because we're just so unaware of it. We're blind to it. Not able to see it. And so when we're pulled out of it, it's like, oh, here we go. This is a direction in which I can take. This is a path for me to elevate my consciousness, for me to grow, for me to release a lot of this stuff and stories and objections. And so these things, I believe, are such an opportunity to not only self-reflect and then to uncover who we really are and bring that to the surface. I mean, isn't that a beautiful gift? Regardless of how it's packaged or presented.
Yeah. So what I've come to believe about this journey is that spirit is always for expansion and fuller expression. That resonates as truth for me. And so in this work of taking ourselves on, we get to blossom into our fullest expression, what it is that we came here to do. But what happens is, early on in our development, a lot of beliefs of limitation have slowly choked out our lights. And then we've closed off to the world. And then we just take a job to get by, to survive, to put food on the table. And then we forget about what it is that we came here to do.
The essence.
And so the process of taking ourselves on and really peeling back these layers, we get to step into a life that's more full of light. So what it is we came here today to do is to talk about habits, serving and unserving, and that which you tolerate, you will not change. And so I myself have found myself taking on these new little habits that are maybe not so good for myself.
Me too.
Step back a little bit and say, whoa, what is this new territory?
Yeah.
We're going to dive deep and be vulnerable and authentic and dive into what it is we are working on and struggling with. We've realized in these live events that it's best for us to really just have a conversation it's a little bit difficult to interact. So as always, we'd love for you guys that are watching, when something resonates about what Justin and I say, write it in the comments. We're paying attention to this, and we'd love to deep dive on what it is you guys are working with as well. The power really is in the community in this space. Each and every one of us is on this journey. We're all pilgrims on a path, and that we have our own little unique things that we're working through. And when somebody opens up about what they're working with, and we start to deep dive on that, we are able to help someone connect the dots with something they've been wrestling with. And yet another person on the call just heard a message the right way to help them connect the dots on something that they've been working on as well. So the power truly is in the community that we're creating here. So please be with us. And for those that are diehard Agent Evolution tribe, start a Facebook watch party, get your friends. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to add one more layer to that, like, ladies and gentlemen that are diehard fans, you guys come here for valuable content. We appreciate you and thank you so much for that. And again, as Justin said, like, please put in the comments, like, what are some topics that maybe you're struggling with that you'd like us to kind of unpack and unearth some things. We could use our experience with those things, because I'm sure we have some. But, you know, we come up with content just simply based upon where we're at on our path and what we're dealing with, which is all good and great. And we're so thrilled that we get the opportunity to share that with you all. Yet if you have something specific that you want the next episode to be about, put in the comments so we can see. Give us that content that's relevant for you, because we appreciate your participation and we want it to be as valuable as possible for you. And the way you get value is to bring value.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, what's relevant for me in my journey may not be what's relevant to you. Now, there's always usefulness in us learning from each other's journeys, without a doubt. However, if there's something specific that you have that you want to work on, definitely put that in the comments or send us a private message later. We always like to see what's relevant to our people and so that we can continue to create value in this time and space.
Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah, so that which you tolerate, you will not change.
Yeah, because the reason you won't change it is because you're choosing it. That's why you're tolerating it. So just to make a real quick distinction, and I know you've got a good one you've been working on what you've been tolerating, and as do I. I got a couple of them. In fact, we share some. When we say tolerating, what we're really meaning is like not tolerance in the form of compassion or empathy, but tolerance as in what are those negative cycles or loops or habits that you're ingrained in, and you're aware of them, and yet frequently turn a blind eye to them and just continue like nothing's really happening. It's okay that I have this bad habit that's not serving me, that's keeping me small, yet I really don't have the desire to go to work on myself to shift it, so I'll just allow it to be. Hence, why we're not able to change it, because you're choosing it. And so what are, first of all, those habits or negative things that you're tolerating? We're going to deep dive on why and how to turn that around if you have the desire.
Yeah. So what's been coming up for me, as we discussed earlier this morning, is that, I'm in my house a lot more than I was previously prior to these changes. And I have noticed that my habits around food, they have changed a little bit. It's like, I'm sitting 6 feet from my refrigerator the majority of my day. And there's something in me that, likes to walk over to the refrigerator and just maybe check to see what's in there.
So what is that?
Help me unpack that.
Yeah. Well, I'll just be from I. So I've been guilty of the same thing a lot of times. Recently, I've noticed this and shifted, but before that, it was, a lot of it's boredom too. Like if you're sitting there bored and you want something to do, why not have it be something pleasurable? So let me reach out for a hit of dopamine by just grabbing that thing. Maybe it's an Oreo sitting in your pantry. I mean, think about it. Do you really want the Oreo? Or do you want the sensation you get from when it hits your taste buds and it feels like bliss? Whatever your thing is. Maybe it's not Oreo, but you know what I mean? Like, it's that hit of dopamine. It's like, this is great. No, you're not hungry. No, you don't need it. You shouldn't. Right?
It's definitely the feeling.
Yeah.
So what is that? Why am I reaching to create a feeling? What am I lacking so that I'm going over to the fridge to try to create that feeling?
Bingo. That's the $1 million question, right? And as Mr. Haynes so brilliantly states, it is only when you ask the question can you hear the answer. So what is it about the new environment, the new circumstances that has you, me, Mr. Haynes, bored at times to reach out for that? So I think before we kind of dive deep on that, let's take a couple different topics on bad habits that we have been developing and find the common theme, and that way we'll be able to dig deeper.
Okay.
So I too have the food one as of late. I'm switching that as of a couple days ago and working with that. There's two other things that I've really been working on, noticing about those things I'm tolerating. One is, and I made a post, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago about this. Like, I've been out of integrity with myself and some commitments I made to myself. And one was to consistently and always speak my truth about how I'm feeling and what I'm experiencing. And what I noticed is that I wasn't doing that. And it wasn't a conscious thing per se. It was just, I know how I felt inside, and how I felt was like constricted because I wasn't letting that stuff out. And when I'm not letting those things out, I don't feel I'm expressing myself. And when I feel like I'm not expressing myself, I don't feel whole and complete.
Okay.
Because I feel like if I got something to say, we had a conversation this morning, right? And so it's like harboring those emotions. What good does that ever do? I mean, what good comes from hanging on to how you really feel? Now, I know for me, if I speak from the benefit I got was that I got to stay emotionally safe in the relationship because I never had to unpack what was really going on. Because if I do that, the story I've made up, the fear, the false evidence appearing real, is that if I tell them how I really feel, what if they don't like that and now they decide to leave and pull away their love? So I'd rather just suffer in silence. Now that wasn't a conscious thought, but that's energetically what was really running the show. That was the program underneath my conscious awareness. And so it just became time for radical choice. Like either speak up or stop suffering for not. But I don't know how you stop suffering for not, because it's not truly you and how you desire to operate.
Like you're just closing it off and holding
yeah,
it
just close. I mean, think about it. It's like a volcano. And I know I've operated like this a lot in my past, and I'm very mindful to not do that in the future. It's like in a relationship, whether that's with your honey, a dear friend, your clients, whatever, in a human interaction, if we have things that we're not okay with and bad feelings, like it just worsens the relationship. And I don't know about you all, but I feel energetically less than. Every time I have something to say and I don't express myself, I feel a little less and a little less and a little less powerful, a little lower vibration, a lower frequency. And then what happens? Well, I'm not feeling good about myself and I'm sitting here kind of bored. What shall I do? Oh, let's go beat the hell out of the refrigerator.
Okay. Try to get that quick fix in.
Yeah, to just mask the pain, mask what's really going on underneath the surface. By just reaching out, a little hit of dopamine, the cookie, the whatever your vice is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the more things that we're tolerating that are not serving or supporting us, the worse we can feel. And the number one thing to do is reach out for something that feels good, is pleasurable, to mask the pain. And that could be anything. Food, sex, gossip, who knows? But the question is, are there healthier ways to deal with this, to cope? And I just know for me, the more things I start tolerating, the more bad habits I develop, the harder it is to change any of them. Because now I'm just inundated and heavy with all of these.
The light's just really constricted.
Oh yeah, it's dimming.
Yeah.
But what I've noticed is this. If I'm willing to take action in just one of those areas and kill it off, like the food, guess what? I feel a little bit more powerful. I feel a little more confident. I feel more self-love.
Yeah.
So now my cup's filling up and I have more energy and desire to go tackle the next one and the next one and the next one. Becoming more powerful.
Yeah.
Easy? No.
But it all starts with awareness. We have to first cultivate that awareness. We have to step out of the programming. Our body starts to learn how to do these behaviors automatically. And so we must transcend that program. We need to pull back from it to deepen our awareness. And then it's out here in Technicolor.
Yeah.
And then we're able to see, is this serving or is this not serving? And I say for me, when I'm starting to become aware of these things, it's just to get back into my practice, deepen into that awareness, find out what it is that I'm really hanging on to, and process and release it.
So what you're saying then is, at the current level of mind that created these bad habits, we have to detach from that and elevate so that we can objectively take a look at what is. So then the question becomes, how do we detach from the thing that we're in to sit in the seat of consciousness to objectively observe our situation, which means then without judgment? Because if I'm looking at my situation and I'm getting down on myself, that is not enlightenment. That is not consciousness. That is not self-awareness. That is the ego slipping into that to judge. Well, you're supposed to be this. You're supposed to be that. Don't you know you have a reputation? You must project this. You got to wear this mask. And so that is not consciousness. That is not self-awareness. That's the ego slipping in to continue to stay in control, to run the show. So how do we increase our self-awareness, our consciousness, to sit in that seat and observe ourselves? Well, we have an answer for you.
Yeah, it's the practice.
It's the practice.
I'm going to turn the air conditioner down, by the way.
And what I really want to drive home with this is just that it is your practice. Meaning, it's not something you're perfecting. It's not something that you must master completely. I mean, obviously that would be a good sensation to arrive somewhere, but are you really, at least in this incarnation, going to turn water into wine and walk on water? Like, where is that need for perfection? That's why it's called a practice. You're practicing every day, getting better and better and better. Sometimes you have bad days. Get back on the practice. So what's in your daily practice?
Well, we are energetic beings. And when I'm waking up in the morning, I have been stagnant for 8 hours, getting that rest in. And so my practice always entails some form of movement. Wake the body up.
Yeah. What is your, so not only what are the items that you do, but what is the order in which you do them in?
It's usually hydration, first and foremost. Maybe do some light stretching, throw on a pair of workout clothes, sweatpants, whatever. Go for a jog, throw some kettlebells around, maybe do a yoga practice. And now that my body is feeling really good, I will go sit. Sometimes I have calories, sometimes I don't have calories after that movement. But then I'll go sit and connect with my breath. You know, the teachings of the East, the yogic teachings, say that when we are operating in a mild state of fight or flight, we're only breathing from our top half of our diaphragm, that we are choking off spirit. And inspire, the word inspire means to breathe within. And so when we're not breathing within and we're choking off that spirit, we are not accessing that well, that infinite resource that is within. And so I'll connect with my breath and then generally leave that with some form of meditation, some intention setting, some gratitude, maybe asking a question that I've been wrestling with so that I could hear the answer. And I generally always have my journal sitting right next to my meditation chair. That way, whatever is coming through me in that process, I'm able to journal it and really connect the dots on a lot of the things that I'm working on.
Yeah. And so do you find significant value in taking those kind of thoughts and then transposing those onto paper?
You had said it a while back, where taking a thought and putting it into form via writing, and sometimes the things that my hand writes are quite profound. It's like, wait, did I just write that?
No, you didn't.
The ego self did not write that.
No.
But it's always generally so healing. I'm able to get answers to things that I was wrestling with and struggling with. So that in and of itself, my practice has shifted a little bit. The kids being home with no schooling, me not waking up intentionally early enough to get in my practice before they get up, and I'm more of what you would call a free range parent. So we're blasting loud music, we're jumping on the couch, we're running through the house. I mean, it's crazy. So there's not a lot of quiet time to get a practice in then. But I'm aware I could play victim and say, well, you know what, the kids are home and I just can't get my practice in. Or I could be in ownership, responsible, and I could say, well, I could be waking up earlier and getting all this stuff done before they even get up.
So you're either going to be committed to your greatness or victim to your circumstances.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a choice.
Yeah.
So like for many of you out there watching, like if you haven't said it, I'm sure you've heard other people, well, I can't go do this or I can't go do that to better myself, because don't you know, I got to take care of the kids and now I'm homeschooling them and all these kinds of things. And it's like, cool story, bro. Like you can be committed to that and you'll be right about it. Or you can be committed to looking for solutions. Ask the question, how can I get this done?
Yeah, my encounter of lots of people is that their mindset is waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, I just can't do this, or this is happening, so I can't have this. But when when that is the thought process, that I can't do this because of that, then we always experience our lives as a game of or instead of a game of and. So in this time and space where we have now been forced to pause in certain ways, is that thought process running through? Is that one of the habitual patterns that's been adopted in this? Well, I can't do this because I have that. Can you be conscious and reframe that belief structure? Reframe that question and say, how can I do this and that? How can I play the game of and? And when those are the questions that you ask, be ready for the solutions because they will just appear. They will reveal themselves.
Yeah, and a lot of people might think that that's like woo-woo, new age, hippie bullshit. But I'm here to tell you from my own experience, our experience, and all the tribe that have implemented that philosophy, that psychology. Like it just happens and unfolds. I do want to unpack one more thing I've been tolerating. This is a big one. And it's, my ego's like, no, don't say anything, And I'm like, oh, I don't want to keep it clean on here. The language and whatever. I don't know if we'll be shut down if we don't. So, my thing is this. So remember my big one was not using my voice and speaking my truth in the moment, energetically, when something is displeasing or not in alignment. And that has massively contributed negative energy towards the next thing I was tolerating. And that is procrastination. So there'd be some things I wanted to get done, some projects, maybe things as simple as a phone call to check in with somebody and ask some questions and make sure we're moving down the road with a project or something of that nature. Like these aren't necessarily massive things. There's a couple projects, but most of it was small little stuff that I just wasn't getting done. And I was like, oh, that's small. I'm not really feeling like it. It's no big deal. I can handle that later. And then later turns into the next day. And then I forget. And then the next day happens. And then someone's like, hey, did you take care of that? And I was like, oh, no. Like I'm embarrassed. I'm by myself. And that's also being out of integrity with my commitments. I said I was going to do something. Why procrastinate, right? But what I noticed is the more that I push things off, the more things I push off. Like it just becomes this new energy and it snowballs, at least for me. And then pretty soon I have this long list of things to get done. Albeit, I could sit down for an hour and knock out the majority of it. So I have, by the way. But leading up to this was, first of all, having the awareness that this is how I was operating. So again, what are you doing in your practice to elevate your consciousness, to detach from yourself and become an objective observer, to witness? I'm noticing a theme in my life. And sometimes, at least for me, it's a bit of a challenge to consciously think about it. So what I do is I just pay attention to how am I feeling. If I pay attention to how am I feeling, and I can identify that feeling, where's that coming from? What are the dominant thoughts that can take it over and over that are causing that state? Because that's all it is. But what I've also been very mindful of is to pay attention to not only how am I feeling, but realizing, and this has been super huge for me, so I hope it brings some value to you, that feelings are just that. They're not me. It's something I have. And like, have you ever had a feeling, we were talking about this morning, that was so sad or hurtful that it's like, this is how it's always going to be. Or you have a massive win, a success, you're like, this is how it's always going to be. And that statement is really the catalyst that sets us up for failure, or I should say, unmet expectations. Feelings come and go. We could use the word emotions, energy in motion, emotion, right? Like it comes in waves sometimes. So if you just know that you're feeling something, you're like, okay, whoa, this is not me. So instead of saying I am sad or I am depressed or I am anxious, that's stating that's who you are. But that's just not true. So instead, you could just say I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling anxious, so that you can cut off from it and remain objective to observe it, to witness it. And then you can unpack, where is this coming from? Why am I feeling this way? What are the thoughts that are driving that emotional state? Where's this coming from?
Yeah. Yeah. So, Janine, thank you for this vulnerable share. Thank you for leading well by example. So, my thoughts around this is, I don't specifically have any autoimmune things going on. But what I have come to believe is that if that stress is just really below the surface and we're not aware of that, and then our vibration has dropped a bit, then that's when the body comes in and starts doing the funky little things that it does. And so what Dr. Dispenza would say around that is that disease cannot exist in a body of light. And so what he's talking about is really raising that vibration so much so that your body's full of light and love, and those autoimmune system functions seem to go away. So I'm not sure how much you have researched around Dispenza, but he is phenomenal on that. The things that they are doing in their 7-day events is just profound and beyond words. We are so much more. Thorstad and I, we say this all the time. We are capable beyond our wildest comprehension. There is no way our limited human brain will ever be able to fathom how powerful we are. And that in and of itself, when you wake up to that, that is the most beautiful feeling, to know that you are powerful and that you can create everything you desire. But it starts with awareness. The power truly is in awareness.
Awareness. So, Ms. Hernandez, thank you so much for your authentic share there. And to just carry that one step further and kind of answer your question is, what I noticed you said was that, like, you're in a great mood, however, your body's saying different. So the thing that I love about my practice is, like, Justin's practice is different than mine. We share some of the same elements, but a different order in which we do them in. And that's okay. Like, we believe there is no way that your morning practice should go. It's all based upon this body versus this body and our mind and all those kinds of things. Yet I think the elements are important. But really, like, because what I heard and what I felt from you when you unpack what your practice is, you kind of feel into what is your body asking for. And so if the body is saying different, Janine, like, listen to that and then feel into what is it needing. Because you said that, like, at the bottom, I realized how important it is to get out. Yes, we need sunlight, vitamin D, right? It's like solar power. Sit near a tree and grass, like, be in nature, take your shoes off, connect. Yeah. Like, it's so vitally important. And that's just not how we typically live in our Western societal culture.
Yeah. Well, if you look at us beings from an energetic standpoint, we are just energy. It's been proven by quantum physics. Believe what you want, but quantum physics says differently. And when we are in the big city, with the deadlines in the Wi-Fi and the 5G and all of these things, these are disruptive frequencies. They scramble our own home frequency. And so go out in nature where you don't even have cell phone service and see how your body feels. Breathe it into your full physical system and see what you experience in that. So this is why the practice is important. If we're going to be in this modern industrial civilization here, go, we need to really deepen into our practice such that when we go about through our day doing, we can do it from an elevated state of being.
Yeah. And in order to do that from an elevated state of being, like Janine, the bird's eye view, that's the self-awareness, it's so powerful because your other comment there, thank you for that bullet point reminder, we subconsciously might be doing things during this time being unaware of the habits. Not we might, we are. We all are. If you are not self-aware, if you're not paying attention to how you're operating and how you're being, you will develop unconsciously new habits because you're just not aware. So old programming is coming back in play and picking things up along the way. Like, who knows how many bad habits you have, y'all, me, us, yeah, that were unconsciously created. Like, you didn't go out and say, okay, I'm going to create this addiction, this emotional attachment to this external thing. And every time I'm feeling bad, I'm going to go out and do this to feel better. Like, it's not who does that? You know what I mean? So, increase in self-awareness, your consciousness, to always be able to sit in a seat of consciousness and witness and observe yourself in what's going on. How am I being? What is my state? How am I feeling? Let me pay attention to and listen to my body. So super important. And I know some of the best experiences I've had that are healing have been with this guy out in nature. You know, just going on an adventure, losing all track of the normal construct.
Yeah. So as we're really unpacking this habits that we've created in this new time and space, good and not so good, be thinking about what's relevant to you in your own experience right now. What have you taken on? And let's unpack that a little bit in the comments. Also, camera, not Facebook Live.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Because you go on these beautiful rants and I just love it. We've got a nice camera filming us as well, so we can get out some beautiful snippets. We truly desire to continue to expand. The more of us that are swimming in the same direction called stepping into the light, the more that we all cause a ripple effect in the collective consciousness, the more that we all help shift and outline what this new world is to look like. I've seen some memes, saying, I can't wait for this to go back to normal. And, I really hope that we step into a more beautiful expression. Like, this is humanity entering the cocoon and going to emerge a butterfly. But it takes all of us individually working on ourselves so that we are broadcasting that energetic signature into the collective. And that's what helps move everything along. So we desire to continue to share this. So please, those people in your life that you care about, that you feel like could resonate with this message, share away. We love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Please do, everybody. I mean, it just supports the whole. And the important thing I like about what you said is that we're all contributing to the collective, moment by moment.
Whether we like it or not.
And the question is, are you aware of what you're contributing? Are you contributing that higher vibe, that brighter light, spreading that love? Or are you in a fearful survival state? Yeah. Those lower negative survival emotions, because now that you're broadcasting to the collective. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and that's easy to buy into that.
Oh, totally. Well, it's easy. It's effortless to just slip into it. But I will say, based on my own experience, elevating your vibration up is so much easier to stay there. Once you get up to elevation, it's almost effortless. It's just a maintenance of your practice daily.
Yeah, it's like the terminology, or we use the analogy, a jet taking off from the runway uses the majority of its fuel on takeoff, but once it reaches altitude, it's smooth sailing. So same thing with the practice. Once you become habitual around your practice, your sadhana, your ritual, it becomes a thing that you do. And I say for people that are in the phase of developing a practice, if you committed to 7 to 10 days of consistency, I don't care what happens, I'm going to create powerfully and I'm going to have the time and space to be able to sit with this beautiful ritual. What's going to happen after that 7 to 10 days is you're going to have a massive shift. You're going to feel something different. And for me, it was almost like a drug addiction. I got addicted to my practice and my meditation and my movement and all of these things that I wanted to continue to go back. I just haven't found any negative side effects from my addiction to my meditation practice.
None.
So
only upside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, so if we're not having fun playing the game, we've just misread the instructions. Let's get back to that.
Such
place.
a beautiful quote. Yeah, you should coin that. So there is one thing I want to kind of reverse the tape on it and touch on. And thank you, Jennifer, for your comment. I want to create a new normal. This time for reflection has been great. This is my take on it. This is my perspective only. This is my opinion. You can write hate mail in the comments if you want. I believe that what was normal before all of this was broken and not serving anyways. And so moving into this quarantine, as we kind of discussed in the beginning of this, was the opportunity to reflect, to look at what is, what's not serving, how can we elevate, how can we improve, right? Closer relationships. Like, I don't know about you all, but I feel a hell of a lot closer to my kids. We're in the same space all day.
Yeah.
And is that a good thing? Totally. For me, to have a stronger relationship with them, always. And so what I'm looking at is not going to a new normal, but just going to a new state of being. And something else will happen in the future. Good, bad, who knows? That'll shake that up. And so I guess what I'm saying is, for those people that I've heard a lot, I've seen on social media, and not that I'm making it wrong or bad, but my question is, why are you so sentimentally attached to the old way? What was it there that you loved so much that you're not looking at what is there to gain by elevating?
It was predictable.
Yeah, known, which means it's safe and comfortable because there's no uncertainty. But I'll say this, I was watching a show yesterday, day before, and this old man who's like getting close to dying, very wise man, he said to a younger lady, because he was resigning from this position, okay? And the young woman was emotionally distraught that he was leaving. And he said, you know, when you get to my age, you learn that there's really no need to be emotionally attached to goodbyes. Like, to become sentimental about things. Because that means the door's closing, which means what? Another one's opening. So if you're going to grow, that means you're going to have to leave behind some things and elevate. And so what is it that you're so emotionally attached to that you're not willing to let go of that and move forward? Those are the questions to ask yourself.
Are those some of the habits that are coming up for you now? In this quarantined type environment, are you around some relationships that are maybe just not in a good space to be serving to you where you're at in your growth? I know for me and my mother, for those of you who've watched a few of these, you know, my mommy issues, right? You know, my first thing was to pour gasoline on the fire and to fight with her and try to be right, because that was just what we do. We dominate. And that was clearly not working based on results. The next phase of that was to completely withdraw from that relationship. I'm going to go into hibernation because I'm not sure how to be around you. And my vibe certainly doesn't feel good because somehow I am powerless in this relationship. And now it's been to re-engage my mother, and we've gone to therapy together and realizing how much we can't communicate. Or that maybe the way we both communicate just isn't aligning, but it's been healing. We've been slowly being able to see these indifferences and become more accepting of each other. So I know for me, in my own personal evolution, I have chosen to, and subconsciously, to withdraw from relationships that I'm feeling tension, so that I can go get right with myself, so that I can build my foundations such that nobody can shake it, and then come back into that relationship if it was serving, if I really want to maintain that. And so for those of us that are, you know, really taking this quarantine thing seriously, are we quarantining with with people? Are we spending more time with people that it's just not serving in our growth, and we kind of feel this? And can we clear up some of those? Can we have some conscious communications with those people? Because the last thing that we need to be doing is to, if we are not quite in that time and space where we're strong enough energetically to be in that environment with somebody else, can we consciously choose out of that in some facet, consciously and lovingly, so that we can promote our vibration before engaging it and figuring out how to fix it, or finding out whether or not it's even serving to keep the relationship alive?
Well, what I love about what you said, especially with your mom, is I have a desire to change this situation, this relationship. And if that desire is strong enough, I'm going to go at it. But then I'm going to be mindful and pay attention, like, am I making progress? No, I'm hitting a wall. Okay, so a lot of people, when they hit a wall, will start getting resentful towards the person that they're attempting to increase the relationship. And that does the opposite effect, right? But what you said was, okay, but then I tried from this angle, and now I tried from this angle. Like, if you're committed, you'll have the end result. Because you'll be in it. You've decided this will be. And so I'll try this way first. Whoop, I got feedback. It's not working. Okay, let me try this way. Oh, that didn't work. All right, let me try this way. Like, maybe you got to find a back door. I don't know. But if you're committed, because you have the desire for it to be so, it will be. Most people will go at it, say, oh, that didn't work. Well, I did my part. I mean, they're not doing anything. I'm the only one that's got to put forth the effort here.
Yeah.
It takes one to change a relationship. Just one.
What I realized is that this was one of those pieces that I was still hanging on to. In effect, I was drinking my own poison. And so I desire to heal these tensions so that I can feel more free. It's almost as if I was under this dark cloud of, this parental, mother-son type relationship. And that I had an attachment to it for it to be a certain way, and it wasn't that way. And that was the tension. But I had to move through these phases of my own growth and how I interacted in this relationship to eventually step to the place where, I'm about 92% there, in which I can be with her, and I take her sparingly, but I can be there and not have it affect my vibration. So,
but you said at one point that when you were with her, the reason you kind of withdrew is because when you were with her, you felt powerless. And I was sitting with that for a moment, and then it clicked for me because I was dealing with the same thing with my ex-wife. Like, she was doing some things that I didn't care for, yet I had no legal standing orders. There was nothing I could do about it. And because there was nothing I could do about it, I got triggered and elevated, like super. So I was powerless in the situation. Why? Because of what she did? No. Because in that situation that I didn't have any control, I said, here's my power, you can have it. So if you're feeling powerless in a situation, it's because you gave the power away. Now, could you take that power back by having an elevated state of consciousness and viewing the situation differently? When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So again, this all comes back to, what is your practice to elevate your state of consciousness, which is nothing more than saying your state of self-awareness. And are you committed to growing? Because we've had this discussion before. You're either growing or you're decaying, dying. So do you want to grow and raise your vibration, your self-awareness? And by the way, I will say this, in my own path in the last 5 years, the air up here is a lot cleaner. Life is a lot more blissful than the pain and suffering down there. Now, I'm not saying I've arrived anywhere, okay? I have not summited the Everest of myself, but I'm on the path and I'm committed to it, and I'm making progress day by day. And for that, I love myself.
Yeah, be thankful for that.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Like, I'm not pissed off that I'm not at the summit yet. And some days, maybe, I get a little agitated, right? But it's like, there's no elevator, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. So the thing about everything we're talking about and this self-awareness and self-discovery is no one's coming to save you. No one's going to drop from the sky and be like, oh, I'm here to fix all your woes and make it all better. Like, that's not happening. So then, the pain, the struggle is really just a state of ignorance that we can choose. I mean, crying out loud, we're in the information age. So to stay ignorant to something is really a choice, isn't it?
Yeah. So that which you tolerate, you will not change. Where are you giving up your power? In relationships.
Yeah. And to take that one step further, where are you giving away your power? To be mindful of these things. Where are you feeling powerless is sometimes a good indicator, paying attention to how you feel. But in order to transcend that situation, what I've noticed for me is to realize that, my meaning-making machine, when it takes in information, it's really looking for familiarity. So what can it delete or distort, you know what I mean, to make it fit?
Yeah.
So that's not really what's going on necessarily. That's what I'm observing based on my belief systems, based on my stories. And so in order to grow, then I look at new information coming in objective. I practice this anyways. I have not mastered this. But I'll look at new information coming in and saying, okay, this doesn't fit the old story. Well, why? And what am I deleting or distorting before I even allow it to come in and sit with it and marinate with it? To entertain an idea. Because if we're always operating from where we've always operated from, we're always going to experience what we've always experienced.
Yeah.
Right? So what is your process for letting in new information so that you can sit with it instead of letting the program kick it out instantly because it doesn't fit?
Yeah. That's good. So I talked initially about what are the habits that I had formed in this time and space called walking to the refrigerator on a very frequent occasion to find out what was in there. Even though 5 minutes earlier, I knew what was in there.
Yeah. Something new may have appeared.
You never know. So this last weekend, I went on a backpacking trip. And so there's this subtle balance between how much weight of food you want to carry and what is the usefulness of food. What is the utilitarian side of carrying food? And so I was just eating to eat. I don't know. I mean, I was getting some form of payoff as we discovered earlier. However, on this backpacking trip, I was much more minimalist. And what I had noticed is I had this brilliant idea that I would start packing. I normally fast in the morning. I don't eat anything. And I was just really hitting a wall, energetically speaking. I was carrying this big pack and I'm walking through sand and ended up doing 22 miles that day. It was a long day. And as I took a break, I was hungry. So I grabbed a protein bar and brought my energy back up. And so I continued on my hike and I could just feel my body respond differently. And then I started to become more mindful. I was like, well, what's the use of food? In this particular instance, it was just eating for fuel, not just eating to eat, which is what I was doing before. I wasn't hungry, but I would just go to the fridge and grab something. I mean, it's 6 feet away from where I spend the majority of my time at my little creation station here. And so here, I couldn't just sit down and eat all the food that I had. That would be a very bad idea being out in the middle of nowhere. So what I realized is as I was hiking and I had food in my system, my legs felt good and I was strong, I was moving, sweating, it was pretty hot out. Then I started to notice I started to get hungry after another hour and a half. What had happened is I had burnt off all of that food. And then I was like, okay, interesting. So reached back, grabbed another bar, and then I was back in my energetic state. And so what happened is I completely reframed what my relationship was to food in that instance. It was like, what's food to me? Well, food, if it's in the refrigerator and it looks good and I don't have to be hungry, let me just reach in there and grab it and eat it because that's just what I do. But now I started looking at it a little bit differently. So if I'm going to do something physically exerting, maybe a little calories before and a little after. But I can say that my mental clarity when I'm not eating food is that I can think and process much better. And so to listen to the body and to eat when I am hungry, when my stomach is telling me that it's time to eat. I've gotten maybe accustomed to the breakfast, lunch, and dinner type of deal, and that was a societal construct. That's how I was raised. That's how probably most of us were raised. But now I've been in the process of pulling out, especially when I was learning intermittent fasting. And my relationship has completely changed to that. And so now it's, for me, identifying this habit called eating whatever's in the fridge, whenever, just for the heck of it. Now it's, what's the usefulness of consuming calories? Do I feel hungry? Then I'll eat something good and clean. If I don't feel hungry, I won't eat. And so that for me was really enlightening. We really shed some light on how I was operating with that. So I don't know, what are you guys working on in this?
So you take Sarah's. I often feel like I need to get better and more of a master to be deserving of what I want.
Self-worth.
Hey, thank you so much for that authentic share, Sarah. I'd like to hit that. And here's what I've noticed myself. When I used never met her.
She's wonderful.
So when I would attempt to go improve myself so that I could be better, so that I could feel like worthy of something, it was always so difficult, arduous, and just a ton of effort. Because the truth of the matter is, you were born perfect with everything you need. Like, really, what are you lacking? Other than the bullshit story we make up about who we are and what we're about, our identities, our labels that we put on ourselves as children from our growing up experience, why I'm not good enough, why I don't deserve to have what I want to have. Because Sarah, I mean, deep down, this will resonate as truth. Like, you already know you're deserving. Now, the ego with its stories will say, no, you must go improve yourself and be better. Then you will earn that, which is complete BS. So what I've noticed that helped me in making a shift in improving, not becoming better, improving, is just that. Like, our spirit is always for expression, for expansion, like perfect self-expression. And so it can always improve. But the question I would ask myself, Sarah, is, do I need to improve? And the answer to that is always no. But you can if you want, because it's available to you. So it's a difference in a come from energetically on why am I going to go improve. So instead of saying, well, I'm not enough, so let me go do this so I can be enough, it's I'm already enough. Now this thing over here, I want to elevate, so let me go have some fun. Now it's effortless. Now things flow. Now solutions unfold themselves in front of you versus the hustle and grind of force, because I got to go prove I'm enough to be deserving, to be significant. So,
yeah. So my experience of this path, I have touched depths that are beyond what I could ever describe in words. And the truth that I've come to realize, although sometimes I get lost in the humanness, in the ego, thinking that I'm not enough, but when I touch that depth, that well, that reservoir of light, I realize that I'm in a body, I'm deserving of everything that exists. And so I would say for those that maybe have this thing around self-worth, and is to deepen into your self-love practices. Because when you can rest in that depth of your being on a regular basis, you start to come across more affirmations, more things to hold that mirror for you, where you get to see your own greatness.
Absolutely, because stepping into that space and tapping into that well is really shining light on that darkness within us, those BS stories that we made up as a child. And so darkness cannot exist in the light. So how can you step into that space through practice to sit with it and be with it and watch how you naturally elevate? That's been my experience.
Yeah, I read Osho's book called Tantra. Wonderful, wonderful book. And he says that actually darkness does not exist. It's just an absence of light. So that we carry around this thing and we think it's a thing, but it's not a thing. It's just absence of shining the light.
But when we think about the darkness, isn't that the very thing? Because we're paying our attention, therefore sending it energy that's keeping it alive?
Correct. Yes. So we've said it many times before, is that you cannot be a slave to two masters. So if you find yourself in these habitual thought patterns that are saying that I'm not enough, catch yourself, deepen the awareness, and then go reframe that and say, how am I so worthy of all that I encounter? How am I so worthy of all the things, all the beautiful things in this human experience? And when we catch ourselves and reframe that, the universe says, as you wish, let me just show you that. The problem is in the thought process. And we get lost in, speaking from I, lost in that place called humanness and ego. And remember, it was Jesus that said to be in the world, but not of it. When we start to experience the heaviness, that just means that we're so lost in our humanness. We're so lost in our humanity that we've forgotten about our inherent divinity.
It's real important. So with all of that beautiful, brilliant content, my best advice in coaching to you all that decide to incorporate this is when you have that awareness, so you feel like you're being in the world and it's heavy and fearful and whatever's going on, you feel that, right? And that feeling is the indicator. And so the most important thing I want to express about that is when you have the awareness, when you notice of how you're being that's undesirable and you want to shift, the very thing that'll help you shift is to look at the situation with no judgment. Meaning, damn it, I did it again. See, I'm a loser. Sarah, see, if I was better at this, this wouldn't be happening. Ladies and gentlemen, that judgment is the very thing that's keeping you from being able to grow. Because the judgment is feeding the story, it's feeding the program that's keeping it alive and running.
See, I told you I'm not good enough.
Those guys don't know what they're talking about. I'm telling you, I got plenty of evidence to support my story. No, you have plenty of judgment because you don't feel enough. If you felt enough, if you loved yourself completely, and that's a progress, like that's something you progress on, right? It's not something you just arrive to through your practice. Then you'd look at those situations as, thank you so much for giving me this gift of awareness that I wasn't paying attention to. But now I see, I love myself completely, and I desire to shift. That's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, and when that self-love is lacking inside, the things that we tolerate
grow.
Yeah.
And we pick up more of them.
Yeah.
Because it's attempting to mask that pain. So we notice we're not feeling good about ourselves, and I need to get better, and I need to improve, and I'm not significant, and all these things. I know for me, I'll start reaching out and picking up bad habits as a quick hit, a fix. I want to feel better, and it's masking the pain. But really, if you're reaching out for something external to feel pleasure, there's always going to be the other side of that knife blade that's going to cut deep. Because then, how do you come out the end? Okay, so the thing that I picked up, the habit that I've been tolerating is abusing my fridge and pantry.
Yeah.
The habit is drinking more alcohol or beat up or whatever the case is. Like, yes, you get a hit of dopamine and you feel really good in the moment. But what are the side effects? Oh, well, I drank a bottle of wine last night. So now I woke up and I'm foggy. I'm not clear. I don't have any energy. Now how am I going to be today? Oh, I ate too much food. Now I got some indigestion. My gut's hurting.
Oh, yeah.
Now how am I going to be today? Right? So what is the real cost? What is the price you're paying by reaching out for those new habits that you're tolerating? It's monumental.
I love that. Donna, I love that comment that you shared about the bees and their frequency. So that's exactly what we're doing. We each individually have a collective responsibility to be the light. Can you imagine if we didn't have these really high vibrational beings anchoring in the frequency of Earth, and we let fear run rampant, even more so than it is now? Imagine what the world could look like. We each individually have that responsibility. We get to wake up every morning and decide whether we want to make our bed in heaven or make it in hell. And so when we are collectively raising our frequency to the frequency of love and light, what it is in our true nature, then what's happening is those constructs rooted in fear slowly erode and fall away. And, in my opinion, this kind of stuff has been talked about for quite some time, that humanity has always existed in cycles. The age of Aquarius is, somewhat congruent with the Mayan calendar in predicting a shift in humanity. Not the end of the world, but the end of the world as we know it, that man would no longer walk the earth the way it has in the past. And this has been referenced to the golden age, where man wakes up to its true nature and finds out it is love, that it is the divine. And each and every one of us plays a role in that. And so why not create the time and space to have a practice to be love?
Yeah. Real quick, as we unpack your practice, mine is, as I said, slightly different, just to give you all some ideas. Again, there is no the way, there's just different ways. And you make your own based on your own body, based on your own feelings and sensations and what you're looking to grow. So mine is, I get up and I just sit down and I start with my gratitude. I write out 5 things I'm grateful for that currently exist, and 5 things I'm grateful for that don't exist, but I write them out as if they do, like it's already been accomplished.
Okay.
So that raises my vibration instantly. Like, an attitude of gratitude is such a high vibe, and it feels so good. To sit with those things as you're writing it out and actually feel it and experience it. And so my next thing is meditation. But before I do that, when I sit down, I really take the time to set my intention for the day. Like, how do I desire to be? What kind of impact am I going to make today? Like, what am I going to pay attention to? Because if you don't set an intention, then what are you going to go create? Whatever happens, that's chaos to me. Like, success comes by design. And so, even when we go deep dive on some things, before we actually go into our session, it's like, okay, let's set an intention. What's the end result? What's the outcome? So why don't you do that with your day? Like, look at your schedule and fill into those appointments. What's the highest and best outcome possible? Let me set that intention energetically, vibrationally.
Yeah.
And then taking that into some breath work to elevate and expand your consciousness, your self-awareness, and taking that into my vision, like imagination workshop, to see those things that I'm desiring on my touch board as if they're already done, and rehearsing that success, that future success, feeling it as if it's already here now. So by the time I get up from just those couple little sequence of events, like, I'm beaming, super high vibe. And now I get to share that with the collective.
It's your responsibility. That's your duty to show up in the light.
Now, at that point, I'm emotionally awake and now energetic enough to go get in my movement. And I feel it's such a vital piece. And there's been days I miss it, and I know, because I don't feel the same, like, energetically. Like, yeah, my mind is awake, emotionally I'm stimulated, but if I don't wake up the body, there's not a lot of action that gets done. I've got to engage the mind and body connection. It's vital. Mind-body connection.
Perhaps this is just one phase of our evolution. Perhaps one day we won't need a practice at all because we just are it.
I mean, that's a potential reality.
So for those who struggle with self-worth, and occasionally I've dipped into that territory and still do some mirror work, some eye gazing. Go look in the mirror for 5 minutes. Look directly into your eyes and just start to develop a space of gratitude right here in your heart. And start to dwell in the beautiful things that you've brought into the world. Tell yourself, I love you, without blinking, without flinching. Really feel that. Tell yourself, I love you, like you would to your child when you really mean it. And that mirror work can help you really start to see you, because who you are is beyond all words.
So wait, if I want to fill my self-love cup, that means I'm going to have to practice this?
Well, we've practiced a lot of the bad behaviors that have gotten us into this place.
Yeah, for 30-something years.
Yeah, but perhaps if we did all of the work and we removed all of the shadow, we would just turn into light and cease to exist.
Well, that would kind of defeat the purpose of having a human experience.
Yeah, so have fun with it.
Yeah.
Be easy on yourself.
I mean, we believe that we're here in this physical incarnation to go put these knowing things into action and to create beautiful things for the collective, to move the needle forward with this thing called humanity. And so shouldn't that be fun? Shouldn't that be exciting? Shouldn't it be playful?
Yeah.
It can be. And why wouldn't you take a few minutes to look yourself in the mirror, eyeball to eyeball, and just be in a state of gratitude and awe for how great of a human being you are?
Yeah, we all have evidence of something brilliant we've done in the world. Dwell in that. And what I've noticed is the more I dwell in that frequency of loving me and how powerful and beautiful of a human that I am, I end up experiencing more evidence in my outer reality to reflect that back to me.
Well, because you're sitting in that feeling, which is the state. And if you elevate to that state of being, you can go through your whole day that way.
It's only a choice, without a doubt. So the last session, we sat for 2 hours. We thought that was a bit lengthy, so we've decided to condense this one to 1 hour and 15. And we are happy to stay if there are some more questions towards the end of this. So if there's some things that you personally want to cover and you want to make sure that you created that value for yourself today, certainly put those in the comments so that we can address them and dive deep with that. Otherwise, we're going to start kind of wrapping up with what it is that our ask is. And I think I speak for Mr. Thorstad when I say this. Again, this is about sharing the light. So we have made a decision in our lives to take ourselves on. And what happens is as we continue to do the work and we start to elevate, we started to show up differently. We started to share what it was that we were doing, and people started to implement some of these things and shift as well. And so that in and of itself was us sharing the light. And so my ask of you is to be that wonderful example for the collective, to stand in your power, stand in your love, stand in your light, such that you cause a ripple effect that you cannot even quantify in words. That could also look like, if this message really truly resonated for you, share it to your Facebook page. You can share the actual video and write a little snippet like, this hit home for me. I was wrestling with this. Because you never know who you're causal in. They could cause somebody to absolutely shift their lives in a completely different direction. And we know that the collective vibration needs more love so that we step into a world that is full of purpose and a much more beautiful place where we're in harmony, that we're no longer competing for resources for our survival and blowing up other countries because we think that they're going to attack us first. And, all of these things. I don't want to get into political, but it's all rooted in fear that there's not enough.
Yeah. Scarcity.
Yeah. But who we are as abundant beings, we just have to shift. We got programmed in this limitation. We got programmed in this scarcity. And it is our purpose to unleash, remove some of those weights that bind us so that we can step into a more fuller life. Nikki, you've got something on here, choosing work over family. Listen, but I have grown. Okay, I love that. So early on in my business building phase, I never had a shut-off time. Being in the mortgage business, if a real estate agent texts me at 8 o'clock at night, I would take my attention away from my family and I would go handle that text message. So good, clear boundaries with people. Let's say you have a few clients, Nikki, that you're working with. Get ahead of that. Call them all Monday morning and set out your week. Plan accordingly. And then have a shut down time. 5 o'clock. Turn your phone off completely. And don't worry. If that client is going to you're going to have some hate mail from them in the morning, then that's not a client that deserves your time. So you must make the conscious decision to let go of scarcity, thinking that you need that client to survive. You don't need that. You're attracting clients who love to work with you and appreciate and value and respect you. And you've got a baby. Your family deserves it. So shut down time, phone off, shoot me a private message. We'll have a coaching session. But you deserve it, your family deserves it, and there's an abundance of business.
Yeah, and let me ask you this, Nikki. So if you're saying that I never really shut it down, and therefore I'm never really present with my family, that's bothering you on an emotional level. So now you wake up in the morning and you still got that emotional baggage that now you're taking forward into your work. So how effective or efficient or impactful are you going to be not being in a healthy emotional state? And when you do get home, or we're at home, but you know what I mean, like mentally when you shut it down, how much energy do you have left to give to the people that are most important to you? And damn, girl, like you got to realize it's never all going to get done. It never does. If you got everything done, then you stop growing. There's always projects, there's always things to do, and there always will be. So how do you become okay with that? And congratulations on your success, that your workload has increased. Now, how do you scale that business? Here's how you scale it. The essential principle in business is, how do I show up and play all day long and monetize that? So what are the parts about your business that you love to do? Like you jump out of bed in the morning because you get to do that. What are the things you hate to do? Now, how do you leverage yourself? You delegate the things you hate so you can stay in your lane of bliss and love and joy and abundance. So just time to restructure some things. So congratulations to getting at this point of overwhelm and I'm creating problems in my life. Now growth can occur. But until you hit this phase, this upside would never have been available to you. So congratulations. It's a gift.
Love that. Good. So announcements. One of the most important tools that I have ever discovered in my life is my meditation practice, as well as my pranayama, which is the art of breath. And so the next calm and collected meditation session, it's on Zoom. It's next Tuesday at 10 a.m. So if you desire to learn a little bit more about meditation, or maybe you already have a practice and want to learn some more things, come be part of a community that's sharing a collective. That's next Tuesday at 10 o'clock. And send me a private message for the details. I will get you the private Zoom link for that. I think it's a wonderful place to sharpen your sword, so to speak, as it relates to meditation.
Very cool. Yeah, make sure you plug into that, because it costs you a whole whop of nothing. Just a little bit of time.
Yeah.
But you got everything to gain from it.
I love it.
So
yeah, we love you guys. About the tribe that's willing to take themselves on and be a beautiful example in the world, this would not exist. And so we're forever indebted to you. Appreciate that.
Super grateful. Thank you.
Yeah. Any last words, Mr. Thorstad?
No, sir. I think I'm good.
Yeah. You guys go out and be the light that you are. Go express love. Go prove to yourself how worthy you are of it all. We love you.
Thank you all.